No, I brought it out, and what happened is some people bought it and to support me, and then some of the kids that we knew bought it, and the sales were okay. But what I did is I kept going because it was just one book. So one of the things that I found out, especially when you're writing a book, like what a lot of people will do is they'll write a book and they'll say, well, I wrote a book and it did okay, but I only sold a couple. And what you do is you write another book. And just like if you're a band, like a lot of times what happens is that somebody says, oh, wow, I heard this new band. And then they'll find out an album, and the album that they just released is like their fourth album. So so the Ninja Raccoons really didn't start taking off until they hit about like the third or fourth book.
Well, that's pretty much, I've known other people who, write. And, I will say this. I had this one guy come on my show that his publisher for 2 months was sending me emails almost every day saying, John Doe wants to come on your show. I think he'd be a good fit to be on your show. And he wrote a book about zombies. Okay, and I figured, okay, because The Walking Dead, it's a hot subject right now, isn't it? And I get him on the show, and the first thing he says, well, I don't want to talk about my book because I don't want to give any information away. Now, I had this guy booked for 2 hours. I was sweating, He didn't want to say anything about, the only thing I got out of him in 2 hours, it was about a boy and a girl, that woke up in the morning and the whole world changed and there were zombies running around. That's all I got out of him. So for 2 hours, I had to go in my mind and try to remember every, zombie movie it was ever made, voodoo movie, any of that type of stuff, and talk for 2 hours. And, and then at the end of the show, I asked him, I said, how many books have you sold? And he goes, well, it's been out for a year. And I said, well, out of curiosity, how many books have you sold? And he goes, I haven't sold any. And I'm going, okay, now I understand why you haven't sold any. You have to, just like when you come on my show, you got to talk a little bit about your books, which you're doing a great job. And people want to get to know you and all that stuff. And then the guy couldn't understand why nobody was buying his book. Well, there was his reason why nobody bought his book.
And having the bookstore and being an author, people ask, people ask me, well, how do you sell your books? And you sell your books every day. Because, people come into the bookstore, and I love my books, and my book, but, my book isn't for everybody. And I'll tell you, so what I'm, as a bookseller, my goal is to match the right book with the right person. And that's why there's so many books. So, for example, there's some people that would never read a zombie book. So I don't know, so I'll the best way is to talk with somebody, just like you were saying, and find out what their interests are. And there's some people that they'll never read a zombie book, and these books aren't for everybody. But there's certain kids that just love these books, and there's adults that love these books. And if you don't love these books, well, there's other books, and we'll find you the right book.
Oh yeah. Out of curiosity, where can they find? If they don't live in your town, how can they get your books?
Okay, so how you can buy my books, if you, the bookstore has a website, and it's very easy to remember. It's wellsborobookstore.com, and those books, those will come right from the bookstore. We always keep them in stock, and I sign those books, so you can buy a signed book from wellsborobookstore.com. And, of course, this is 2018, so you can get those books wherever books are sold. So I have a small bookstore, so I really like small business. So if you're lucky enough in your town to have a bookstore in your town, you can go and you can get that bookstore to order them, because we have lots of books. But no matter how many books we have, we can never have them all. So there might be a great book out there that we don't have in stock, and we can order it. So, if you have a bookstore, you can order it, and they'll get it right in for you. And of course, there are some people that are only going to buy online, and you can buy these online. They're stocked wherever books are sold. So you can go on BarnesandNoble.com and Walmart.com. There's on eBay. There is.
Can you get them on Amazon?
You can get them on Amazon, and they are available internationally. So if you live in, like, for example, Britain, and you want to go into Waterstones, you can get them at Waterstones or order them, or you can order them online in the UK and different. I guess they're available in Australia and that too. But I mentioned the UK because I've actually sold some books in the UK, and that was pretty fun to have royalties coming in from a UK sale. I really enjoy that.
Well, guess what, Kevin? Do you know our audience base is huge out of the UK? I was so shocked. Our average listenership now, from the last time you were, because I've been doing this for a year. I started, broadcasting back in 76. Then I, retired about 10 years ago out of anything to do with radio. And, Art Bell got me back into broadcasting, before he passed on about a year ago. And, it was funny, maybe the name of the show or whatever. I started getting a huge audience out of the UK. In fact, I had a lot of guests out of the UK. And I think probably about 30% of our audience base is out of the UK, which we're averaging right now about 150 to 170 plus thousand listening to the show live, downloads, and then, replays on all the different apps. But the funny thing is, you mentioned Australia too. Lately, it's like they just found us in Australia, and we're getting a large listenership out of Australia. So there's maybe a good plug there for you tonight on these books.
Well, that's great, and it's kind of the thing with, like, I have these books are a little silly, and like I said, but they've been pretty popular in the UK. So, if you're in the UK, check them out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to understand, the civilization compared to where we're at in the United States, you go back a long time. And the paranormal thing, or anything that has anything to do with the paranormal, or, cryptics or anything like that, is really even more popular out of the UK than in our own country. It's shocking. And, it is anything with cryptics in it. It is just... hot right now.
I know. I think I always enjoyed cryptids when I was growing up, and I still do. And I think the interest in cryptids is universal, because I know for me what it is with me is, like, I always want to feel like there's something out there to discover. So I always enjoyed, especially now, there's. I love the idea that there might be dinosaurs still out there somewhere in the Amazon or in the Congo, or I love the idea that there's something that we don't know, and that we can still, that there's still more things to find. There's the unknown. There's that hidden factor that's out there, and it's that human need, I think, to always discover something. That's what I think that is, at least for me, and I think that's one of the main things about these is the human curiosity. That's what I believe, anyway.
Well, how can I say it? Like I said at the beginning of the show, nowadays, and I don't know how have you noticed it, but I just noticed that a lot of young kids don't read anymore. I hate to say it, the internet has really messed up young people, the way they think. I mean, they're missing something out of their childhood that they're never going to get replaced.
No, that's true. 'Cause, I love the internet. Like, of course, it hasn't been around for a good part of my development, and I like it to. I like to be able to look up. Oh, well, what's this, and be able to Google it and have an answer. But sometimes that's that's one of the things where, well, it's sometimes it makes things too easy, or everything is boiled down to a meme, and what we used to call bumper sticker philosophy. It's like it just fits on a bumper sticker or fits in a meme, and that can be amusing in that, but it's not very deep. It's not very thorough. It's not enough sometimes.
Well, I find kids that go to school, and I hear it from other parents quite often, the internet has really caused kids, right? They get better grades now. But the problem is, right, they go home with their homework instead of having to read books, to get educated about the subject that they're, writing an essay on, or, their homework was based on. They go on the internet. Oh, they type in this. Okay, I'll change a couple words. There it is. They put it down. They bring it to the teacher. They get a good grade. They didn't have to digest anything.
I agree. It's just having the answer handed to you is too easy sometimes. They might be getting better grades, but they're not necessarily being better at thinking, and that's what's important, I believe.
I think it is, yeah. How is your sales really good in, because I'm just curious, around where I live, there used to be some major bookstores. They're all gone. The big ones, the Barnes Noble, it used to be up here where I live. They moved out several years ago. They came in and, built a huge, beautiful building. And, it was really busy the first year or two. And then all of a sudden it was empty. And then they end up closing it. I mean, how is it affecting you? Maybe in a smaller town. Are you the only bookstore in that town?
We are the only bookstore in a town. Tioga County is a big county in Pennsylvania. Wellsboro is the county seat, but we are, I believe, the only bookstore in the county. We're pretty rural, and it's not an easy way to make a living. As my dad, who he recently passed, he's like, "Do you make any money doing that?" And I'm like, "Well, we make some, and I love doing it." And I said, "If there was an easy way to make a living, I wish you would have told me, because there's not really any easy ways to make a living. I guess not. Nobody's told me anyway."
Well, you know what? I can honestly say this. Back in the 80s, I started out with a $250 investment. Within a year, I was making almost $4 million for about 4 years. And that's when computers just started coming out. And then it took a big dump. So all this money I made, I lost every cent. Every cent was gone. So there was an easy job. It made a lot of money for a short period of time. And it just vaporized overnight. So, I mean, it's important to do something that you love doing. And it sounds like you love writing and owning a bookstore. And that I think right there is better than doing something you don't want to do.
And it's and one of the things with this is, I do write, but I am also doing school visits. So part of having read and being creative is learning to do other things. So the bookstore business is it's tough, but one of the things I've started doing is I started doing school visits, and so I did some school visits earlier this year, and when I went and talked, so when I was growing up, this is a pretty rural area, so actually I make the joke because it's not actually a joke, but when I was growing up, the school I went to didn't even have a library. We had there was a bookmobile that would come by once or twice a week. I don't remember how many times a week. And I was always I always had fun going out to the bookmobile to pick a book. But I never had an author drop by when I was growing up. So one of my goals is to talk to kids and talk to them a little bit about the writing process, and I'm having fun doing that. So that's something that I've started reaching out and branching and doing now.
Well, that I remember the name of the librarian. It used to, from the bookmobile, it used to come into my first grade class. Believe it or not, it was Miss Sharon or Mrs. Sharon. And she would sit, twice a month, she would come in our class, right, and read a short book to us. And the way she read it, you just got drawn into it where you wanted to read. That's
my goal when I read. 'Cause I Like when I do my presentation, I talk a little bit about the Ninja Raccoons. I do a reading of my first chapter.